We were talking about the fact that you like to light for low contrast.
Yes. Oh, yes. That's just something I learned when I was in school, and I carried it through my whole school photography career. I carried it through my printing. I also learned it in printing. When I used to print with an enlarger, I had a soft light, and I used harder developers. So everything it was always shoot soft and print contrast. And even when I shot pictures or shot films, I always tended to use soft sources in the hope of, in the print, gaining some contrast, just so I could control the contrast. If you have the contrast there, I think it's hard to deal with, as opposed to soft. It's soft, you can deal with the contrast. And the purely technical, it's purely an issue of control over the image. I guess it is an aesthetic decision too, but I mean, was that the context that I was talking
exactly. Because when it came up with was your use of Oz.
Yes.
Which is this new process, and which was initially described to me as super ENR, which is not at all what I saw on the screen. I mean,
well, you know why? Because there's a yin and yang going on. I pulled the film. So the film is very flat to start, and then I did the ENR to make it look a little normal. I mean, not ENR, the Oz. So the Oz is just bringing it back into the realm of normal film.
Right. It's counteracting the pull.
Yeah. So you're adding an Oz process to a flat film instead of. I can't imagine what Oz would look like on a normal print. I mean, imagine it's very strong.
Right. In the past, have you used other methods of adding the contrast back in? I don't know, Vision Premiere or whatever?
Well, I on Elephant, for instance, I shot with this stock that was very flat, called 63. I think it was formulated for Japan, for television, or some odd
I don't even know that stock.
Very few people used it. And it's very flat. It had a huge tonal range. And then in post, I printed it on the first generation of the Kodak Vision Premiere print stock, which was in a way, in essence, a poor man's ENR. It's part of the reason that it was designed. And so, once again, shot originating flat and bringing back contrast and color. That also, the Premiere also saturated the color. So, and for me, that formula always works in a way that I really like. It looks natural without being overly stylized, overly affected.
When I look at the difference between European and American films, I mean, of course, there are many exceptions to the rule, but one of the things that strikes me initially is the issue of contrast. I do associate kind of contrast the image with an American look. Do you feel that, or is that?
Oh, I totally see that. Yeah. And I prefer the look of European movies and the naturalistic European movies. It's funny though, a lot of the directors I work with prefer the contrast.
Well, it makes it sharper too, right?
Contrast there's an apparent sharpness. It might not be sharp,
but exactly.
Yeah.
And that's all that matters, really.
Yeah. I mean, even if you stop down a lens, it's really interesting. The wider open you shoot, obviously the softer the image and the less focus, the less contrast there is, which I really like. I like shooting at a 2.8 or a 2 because it makes the image just a tiny bit softer.
So you think, like you're saying, at 5.6 or 4, you have a kind of...
Oh, it changes the whole thing. It changes. Everything kind of snaps. Blacks get better. Yeah. The whole image becomes... It's a different picture. For me, it's purely about evoking a feeling. What works for me, what feels better is that creaminess, that softness, and it's a dreamier picture. While you're watching a film or whatever, it just takes you a little bit away from reality.
From the...
Reality.
Yeah, okay.
And more into your mind.
But you were also saying that you felt that reality as we perceive it is also softer and less contrasty. That the reality of our perception.
Well, I think technologically, our image capturing media, be it film or digital, has an inherent contrast. It's unnatural. Has colors that are natural. Everybody talks about saturation and vividness. I don't see blacks like that in real life. I don't see blacks like that in art. You go to a museum and you show me a black. These are like animation blacks that people tend to that I think are favorite. I don't know if they're favorite anymore, but they seem to. There seems to have been a period where people really liked contrast.
Yeah, yeah.
And like you said, especially in American movies.
Yeah.